So you just got a traffic ticket in Illinois, and the ticket says that you have 3 options. Well, how are you going to decide what to do? What is the difference between these 3 options? I'm going to go through all of them right now, and then at the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to properly handle your Illinois traffic ticket. I am attorney Derek Martin with Driver Defense Team. Why should you listen to me? Well, our law firm is based out of Chicago in the suburbs. We handle, I think, over 3,000 traffic tickets every single year for our clients. So definitely know what we're doing here when it comes to traffic tickets in Illinois and especially in the Chicago area and suburbs. So you get a traffic ticket, and many times you have 3 different options. In fact, the officer maybe has even told you about these 3 options, or the officer has suggested or hinted at what option you should take. So how do you actually decide what to do? Which of these 3 is best for you? Well, the first 2 options are what we call court diversion. What that means is it's a way for you to not have to go to court. That sounds attractive, but like most things in life, there's another side to that story, right? So option number 1 on your traffic ticket, if you're presented with this option. Now, let me say, there are more serious tickets, misdemeanors and other things that don't even give you the option, like you have to go to court. What we're talking about here is a petty ticket that is punishable not by any jail time, but by a fine only. We call those petty tickets. And oftentimes you will have these 3 options. So option number 1 is a court diversion option, meaning doesn't require you to go to court. You can mail the ticket in or fill out the form online on the clerk's website, plead guilty, pay $164, and get a conviction on your record. So let's pause there and talk about just that option. Court diversion, plead guilty. You get a conviction on your record. What that means is that points will be assessed. Your insurance company will find out about it, and they can raise your rates. Or if you've got a bad enough record, that conviction can trigger a suspension of your driver's license. So for those obvious reasons, I cannot recommend this option. Sure, it is the cheapest. $164 up front is the cheapest of the 3 options. However, it's not the cheapest. In fact, it might be the most expensive in the long run when you figure maybe a suspended license, when you figure insurance rate increases. It can be the most expensive option. And this is often the one that the officer tells you to do, right? And because the officer's interest and your interests are not aligned. You may say, just do this option, pay it, and you don't have to go to court. That's a bad idea. Don't take legal advice from a police officer, especially the police officer who's giving you the ticket in the first place. So that's option number 1. I would say personally, I would never do that myself, and I would never recommend friends and family to do that. So now let's move on to option number 2. Option number 2 is also court diversion, but it is where you request court supervision. So once again, you fill out the form or the envelope on the ticket, or maybe it's a digital form these days. It can be a digital form these days through the clerk's office. But you find your ticket, you request option number 2, which is court diversion, and request court supervision. Now this is going to cost you a little bit more. This one's going to cost you $210. They charge you a bit more because of the cost of doing traffic safety school. $210. You have to do that safety school online. It's about a 4-hour class. You register for it, you do it. The court gets notified, not only that you paid the $210, but you actually completed the traffic safety school. And then they give you court supervision. Now, if you request this and then don't do it, right? You just blow off the school, the traffic safety course. then they'll switch it to number 1. So you still pay the $210, but they'll switch it to number 1 and they'll give you the conviction on your record. So if you are going to select option number 2, it is a good idea to actually follow through and complete that traffic course, because the court gets notified and they will find out. Now let's talk about whether or not this is a good idea. The answer is maybe. It can be a good idea, right? Like our law firm, not just me, but everyone in our law firm is trained to recommend this when it's a good idea, because it's a fixed cost. It's $210. You got to spend a couple hours, but you don't have to hire a lawyer. You don't have to take the day off work to go to court. So there are some circumstances where option number 2 is a perfectly fine option. Now, what is court supervision? Court supervision is an agreement between you and the court where you got to do some things. In this case, you know what needs to be done. Pay the $210, complete the online course. If you do those things, then the court gets notified. The court then closes out your ticket and they terminate the supervision satisfactory, meaning that the case is done with. You never got that conviction on your record. You avoided it. So insurance company doesn't find out about it. No points are assessed. You've burned a supervision. You cannot get an unlimited number of supervisions, but you've used supervision. Case is done with. Again, it might be a perfectly fine option for you. I'm going to talk about when it's not, though, a little later in this video. Option number 3 is to plead not guilty, and you will get assigned a court date. So now you do have to go to court. These days it might be on Zoom, it might be in person, depends where it is. But you're having your day in court. You're going to go in front of the judge. Now, the plead not guilty part is kind of a formality, right? Like you didn't choose option number 1 or number 2 where you plead guilty. That's the thing. Number 1 and number 2, whether it's number 1 in a conviction and number 2 is supervision, either of them require you to plead guilty. Number 3 is the opposite. You plead not guilty. It's a bit of a technicality at this point, but then they issue you a court date. So now you go to court. Anything can happen. You may get a conviction. You may get court supervision, but maybe not. This is your only option of getting your ticket dismissed or being found not guilty or reduced charge even. None of those things are going to happen with choice number 1 or 2. Choice number 3, you're in court and you're in control, right? You get to figure it out. There can be a negotiation. You can talk to a real human, and then there can be a number of outcomes. Many of those outcomes may be better than you could ever get with option number 1 or even number 2. So why would you want to do this? Well, the number one reason is you may be required to do this, right? If you got additional tickets, like an insurance ticket or multiple tickets, the officer is going to mark court appearance required, in which case number 1 and 2 are not even an option for you. So you have to do number 3. In fact, you don't even need to request it. They're giving you a court date and you got to do number 3. That's, that's if a court appearance is required. Obviously, then you got to go. But the other big one is if you're not guilty, right? If you dispute this, if you feel like this was unfair, something went wrong, it's not what you believe it to be. You want your day in court to prove your innocence or at least give you the option of getting it reduced or dismissed or something like that. That's a very good reason to select option number 3. Another one is if you are a commercial driver. If you have a CDL license, then you must select option number 3 and have your day in court. And the reason for that is, well, number 1, a conviction is going to hurt your CDL. But also number 2, court supervision is going to hurt your CDL. You are a CDL holder. You are held to a higher standard than all other drivers. And so supervision doesn't help you. It's treated as a conviction, essentially. And so your only option is to have your day in court and see if you can get it dismissed, be found not guilty, reduce charge, whatever. So if you're a CDL holder, your options are limited. All you can do is go to court. Also, if you have prior tickets, especially within the past 12 months, or if you've done option number 2 in the past 12 months, they're not going to give it to you again. So you can either plead guilty, number 1, bad idea, or number 3, go to court and let's see what we can do. Let's get it figured out. So if you've got a prior ticket, especially within the past 12 months, you're not going to want to select number 2. If you do, they're going to say, well, you're ineligible. They're going to keep your whole $210 and still give you the conviction. That's the way the court works. So you want to be really thoughtful about what you have in the past before you select option number 1 or especially 2. Finally, is just generally speaking, if you want to keep control of the situation. Again, number 1 and number 2, you're pleading guilty, you're giving up all control. Number 3, you're in court, you're in front of a judge, there's a prosecutor, you have a right to bring your own lawyer if we select option number 3. So that's the final thing I want to talk about here, is if you're going to have your day in court because of option number 3 or because you're required, it's a required court appearance, do you want to go by yourself? Or do you want to have an attorney represent you? Well, that's up to you. I don't know your situation. Many people do represent themselves, and that's perfectly fine. The benefits of having a lawyer are pretty obvious. A lawyer knows what they're doing, right? We handle about 3,000 tickets a year. So we're going to know the prosecutor, know the judge. We're going to know the process. We're going to know the law a lot better than most non-attorneys. I believe probably most of the time that results in a better outcome. So that's the obvious benefit. Also, in many circumstances, you may not have to take the day off work and go to court. You can give your attorney the authority to go handle this traffic ticket for you. And just generally speaking, you know, you want to have your day in court. You want proper representation for it. So that's a choice only you can make. I will note one final thing, is that if you do go to court, whether it's with an attorney or by yourself, and the ticket does not get dismissed and is not found not guilty, you're going to have some court costs. So they do assess an additional sort of court cost by going to court, using the facilities. The only way to get that waived is to be found not guilty or have the ticket dismissed. In every other scenario, they're going to assess those, and those are usually, in most counties, in 101 counties in Illinois, those court costs are $226. In Cook County, they're a bit more, they're $254. So you can see that that option, if you get stuck with those court costs, is going to cost you more than option number 1, option number 2. You need to be aware of it, right? So if money is your main motivator, well, you know, you got to be really, really thoughtful about which one you want to pick. Our law firm provides consultations on this subject. We tell many, many people which option may be best for them, or at least lay out the options for you, just like I did in this video. Believe it or not, we do not always tell everyone that they need to hire a lawyer, right? We don't need your case that bad. We'd rather be honest with you, tell you what your options are, and let you make a really smart, educated, informed decision as to what to do. So that's a mouthful. But it's really pretty important and can be incredibly confusing. Just know option number 1, option number 2, option number 3. Read through those options on the ticket and refer back to this video. And I believe that you're going to have enough information to make the decision that is best for you. If not, give us a call and we're happy to talk more about it, especially if your ticket is in the Chicagoland area. We represent people in Cook, DuPage, Lake, and currently Kane County as well. So let us know if we can help you, and thank you for watching this video.